Have you ever driven through an old neighborhood and just wondered, why don't we build houses like that anymore? From the narrow shotgun houses of the South to the fairy tale Tudors of the 1920s, these homes used to define the American landscape. But today, they've all but vanished from new construction. So what happened? Well, it wasn't just one thing. It was a perfect storm of new inventions, economic realities, and changing tastes. Let's dig into the technological, economic, and cultural shifts that made 10 iconic house styles go extinct. Number 1. The shotgun house. Coming in at number 10 is the shotgun house. You know it when you see it. Long, narrow, and usually no more than 12 feet wide. This style was a staple of the American South from the end of the Civil War all the way to the 1920s. You'd see them everywhere from New Orleans to Houston. The signature layout has rooms lined up one right behind the other with no hallways at all. The design was actually brilliant for its time. With doors at the front and back, you could create a straight path for a breeze to flow through, a totally natural form of air conditioning in the sweltering southern heat. So why did we stop building them? The biggest killer was our modern obsession with privacy. In a shotgun house, you have to walk through every room to get to the next. A trip from the living room to the kitchen might mean a detour through a bedroom, a layout that just doesn't fly today. Then, the invention of air conditioning made the shotgun's best feature, that amazing cross-ventilation, pretty much obsolete. There were practical and legal reasons, too. As cities grew, zoning laws changed, often favoring wider lots and requiring things like hallways, which the classic shotgun just didn't have. By the mid-20th century, many of these homes, which had unfortunately become symbols of poverty, were torn down during urban renewal projects. They were replaced by the sprawling, car-friendly ranch homes that offered the privacy and modern amenities the humble shotgun simply couldn't. Number 2. The Saltbox House. At number 9, we have the Saltbox House, a true icon of colonial New England. It gets its name because it looks just like the wooden boxes people used to store salt in their kitchens, the ones with a lidded, lopsided profile. The defining feature is that dramatic, asymmetrical roof, 2 stories high in the front, sloping all the way down to a single story in the back. But this design wasn't just for show. It was pure colonial problem-solving. Originally, many saltbox houses were just regular 2-story colonial homes. But when a family grew and needed more room, they'd build a simple lean-to addition on the back. Extending the roofline down to cover, it was a cheap and easy way to expand. But there's another, more legendary reason for the design: taxes. The rumor is that some colonies taxed houses based on the number of stories. That long, sloping rear roof let homeowners argue they technically had a 1.5-story house, not a full 2-story one. The saltbox's decline was really just a matter of it becoming outdated. The tax loopholes that might have encouraged its shape eventually disappeared. As building techniques got better and tastes changed, people started preferring more balanced, symmetrical designs like the classic 2-story colonial. And the interior, usually built around a huge central chimney, wasn't great for the open-concept living we love today. While the style had a small revival in the late 19th century, it's now a charming but extinct relic of early American ingenuity. Number 3. The Second Empire House. Number 8 on our list is the Second Empire style, a look so grand and imposing that it became the go-to haunted house in movies like Psycho. This style was popular from about 1860 to 1885, and it was all about showing off wealth, especially for the newly rich in the Northeast and Midwest. Its most famous feature is that dramatic mansard roof, which has a steep lower slope dotted with ornate dormer windows. This roof made the whole attic a usable floor, creating a sense of incredible height and grandeur. These homes also had elaborate moldings, decorative brackets, and often a central tower, making them look like they were pulled right out of Paris. The downfall of the Second Empire style was surprisingly fast. It was hit by a one-two punch of economic disaster and a massive shift in taste. The Panic of 1873, a major financial crisis, put a dead stop to the construction of such flashy, expensive homes. All of a sudden, the opulence that made the style so popular became a symbol of old-fashioned excess. At the same time, America's taste was changing. The heavy, European look started to feel dated. By the 1880s, a new architectural darling was on the scene, the Queen Anne style, which offered a more whimsical kind of charm with its wraparound porches and turrets. Over the next century, the Second Empire's fate was sealed. Seen as monstrously out of style, many were lost during mid-20th century urban renewal projects. What the economy started, fashion finished. Number 4. The Octagon House. Next up, at number 7, is one of the strangest and shortest-lived fads in American housing, the Octagon House. For a brief moment in the mid-19th century, from about 1850 to 1870, a few hundred of these eight-sided homes popped up, mostly in the Northeast and Midwest. The movement was championed by one man, Orson Squire Fowler, an architect who published a book called A Home for All. He passionately argued that the octagon was the perfect shape for a house, believing it provided more space, got more natural light, and was healthier because of better air circulation. But despite Fowler's enthusiasm, the Octagon House was a flop. Its failure came down to impracticality and bad timing. The weird shape, while clever in theory, created awkward, triangular rooms that were a nightmare to furnish with normal rectangular furniture. And trying to add on to an eight-sided house? Way more complicated and expensive than with a traditional home. Plus, the style's peak popularity happened right before the American Civil War and the economic slump that followed, which slowed down most new construction. In the end, the Octagon House was just seen as too weird. As tastes shifted back to more conventional styles like the Italianate and Queen Anne, this eight-sided experiment was left behind. It remains a fascinating but failed utopian dream, a quirky footnote in the story of American homes. Number 5. The Italianate House. At number 6 is the Italianate style, which was a huge deal in American architecture from the 1840s to the 1880s. Inspired by the romantic country villas of Italy, this style was a big break from the rigid, symmetrical houses that came before it. Its key features are pretty easy to spot. Low-pitched roofs with wide overhangs held up by big decorative brackets, and tall, skinny windows, often topped with fancy moldings. Many even had a square tower, or cupola, on the roof. The style was so successful because it was so flexible. You could find fancy Italianate details on everything from grand estates to middle-class suburban homes and city row houses. So what made this incredibly popular style fade away? A classic combo of changing fashions and money. By the 1880s, the very things that defined the Italianate look, the heavy brackets and ornate window crowns, were starting to look old-fashioned. The public's eye was wandering to the more complex and asymmetrical shapes of the new Queen Anne style, which offered a fresh and exciting look. All that detailed craftsmanship also made Italianate homes expensive to build. As the Industrial Revolution kicked into high gear, new styles that used mass-produced parts became more popular. The financial panic in the 1870s didn't help either. So, after dominating for nearly half a century, the Italianate style was pushed aside by newer, trendier designs that would define the end of the 19th century. All right, we're halfway through our list. It's amazing to see how much technology and taste have shaped the places we call home. If you're enjoying this architectural time travel, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what we dig into next. Now, let's get back to the countdown. Number 6. The Dutch Colonial House. Coming in at number 5 is the Dutch Colonial, a style with roots deep in America's earliest history. It started with Dutch settlers in the 1600s in places we now call New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. You can spot them immediately by their distinctive gambrel roof. This barn-like roof, with its two different slopes, wasn't just for looks, it was incredibly practical, creating a spacious, full-height attic or second floor. Other classic features are dormer windows popping out of the roof, and of course, the famous Dutch door split in half so you could open the top to let in a breeze while keeping the bottom closed. The original Dutch colonial style started to die out in the mid-1800s. As the original Dutch families assimilated, their kids and grandkids started to build in the more modern English styles, like the Georgian and federal homes that were becoming popular. The specific building skills needed for Dutch construction also became rarer as the number of those skilled craftsmen dwindled. While the style did see a huge comeback in the early 20th century, these were revival homes' modern interpretations of the original. The authentic 17th century Dutch colonial, built with the techniques of the first settlers, largely vanished as a mainstream style, replaced by a new generation of colonial revivals that would soon fill America's suburbs. Number 7. The American Foursquare. At number 4 is the American Foursquare, a house that was the very picture of practical, sensible, and modern when it appeared around the turn of the 20th century. Popular from the 1890s through the 1930s, the Foursquare was a direct rebellion against the fussy, ornate Victorian houses that came before it. Its design is honest and simple, a boxy two-story cube with a hipped roof and a wide front porch. Inside, the layout was just as simple, with 4 main rooms on the first floor and 4 on the second, which was a great way to maximize space on a smaller city lot. The style was affordable, sturdy, and you could even order one from a mail-order catalog. So why did such a practical and well-loved house disappear? The answer is tied to the massive changes that came after World War II. The Foursquare's boxy, room-by-room layout was perfect for its time, but it was no match for the idea that would change everything: the open-concept floor plan. Families started wanting big, flowing spaces where the kitchen, living, and dining areas were all connected. At the same time, the rise of the automobile and the explosion of the suburbs changed everything. Families didn't need to build up on a small city lot anymore. With bigger plots of land, they could build out. This led directly to the sprawling single-story ranch house. These new styles, designed around the car and casual family life, made the sturdy, upright Foursquare feel like a relic from another time. Number 8. The Tudor Revival. Number 3 brings us the Tudor Revival, a style that dropped a bit of romantic medieval England into American suburbs from the 1890s to the 1940s. These homes are pure storybook charm, with their steeply pitched roofs, decorative half-timbering, and tall, narrow windows, often with leaded glass. Big fireplaces and prominent chimneys were also key, designed to feel like a cozy English manor. For a while, especially in the 20s and 30s, the Tudor was one of the most popular styles in the country, offering a sense of history and permanence. The Tudor Revival's demise was mostly a casualty of World War II. The difficult craftsmanship and expensive materials it needed, like brick, stone, and heavy timbers, just weren't practical in a post-war economy that was all about building things quickly and cheaply. The skilled labor required for its detailed brickwork was expensive and hard to find. But the shift was cultural, too. After the war, American tastes took a hard turn towards modernism. The forward-looking, streamlined designs of ranch and mid-century modern homes just felt more in tune with the optimistic spirit of the era. The heavy, historic look of the Tudor suddenly felt dark and old-fashioned. The authentic, handcrafted Tudor Revival faded from new construction, replaced by homes that were cheaper, faster to build, and a better fit for the modern American lifestyle. Number 9. The Lustron House. Our runner-up at number 2 is the Lustron House, a bold, futuristic vision that burned incredibly brightly and then flamed out spectacularly. This wasn't just a new style. It was a completely radical idea of what a house could be. Made by the Lustron Corporation between 1948 and 1950, these homes were totally prefabricated and made almost entirely of steel, with interlocking porcelain enameled steel panels for both the outside and inside walls. They were sold as the home of the future, fireproof, bug-proof, and so low maintenance you could literally hose down the walls. Everything from cabinets to closets was built in, and the whole kit was shipped on a special truck ready to be assembled. Backed by millions in government loans, Lustron promised to solve the post-war housing crisis by building these homes on an assembly line just like cars. So what went wrong? In short, everything. The company was plagued with production problems and never got close to its goal of making 100 homes a day. The houses also ended up costing way more than advertised, making them less attractive than traditional wood frame homes. The company also hit huge logistical and financial walls. Steel was in short supply. Banks were nervous about financing such a weird product, and local building codes often got in the way. After making only about 2,500 homes, the Lustron Corporation went bankrupt in 1950. It was a magnificent failure. The dream of a steel house for every American was quickly replaced by the cheap, easy-to-build wooden tract home that would define the post-war suburbs. Number 10. The Queen Anne Victorian House. And at number 1, the style whose disappearance most profoundly changed the look of American neighborhoods, the Queen Anne, the most famous and elaborate of all Victorian homes. Popular from the 1880s to around 1910, the Queen Anne was a maximalist fantasy. These homes are defined by their incredible complexity. Asymmetrical facades, soaring turrets, huge wraparound porches, and an absolute explosion of decorative details from delicate spindlework to patterned shingles and stained glass windows. They were a product of the Industrial Revolution, which made it possible to mass-produce all the complex trim and brackets that gave the style its signature look. For a generation, these painted ladies were the ultimate symbol of wealth and status. The extinction of the Queen Anne was caused by a powerful 1-2 punch: economic hardship and a complete flip in cultural values. The incredible expense was the first nail in the coffin. Building a Queen Anne took costly materials and highly skilled labor. The Great Depression and 2 world wars sealed its fate, bringing in an era of austerity where simplicity and affordability were king. Plus, the cost of just maintaining these complex houses, with all their ornate woodwork, was sky high. But even more importantly, tastes changed. The very ornamentation that had been seen as beautiful and sophisticated was suddenly viewed as cluttered, fussy, and pretentious. A new generation of architects and homebuyers fell in love with the clean lines and handcrafted simplicity of the arts and crafts movement, which gave us the Craftsman bungalow and the practical American foursquare. It was the end of an era. We stopped building Queen Anne homes because, in a new century, we had become a different country, one that valued efficiency over embellishment and practicality over pageantry. From the clever problem-solving of the salt box to the futuristic dream of the Lustron, each of these house styles tells a story about the time that created it. Their disappearance wasn't a failure, it was just evolution. The very forces that made them vanish, things like air conditioning, economic depressions, and our love for open-concept living, are the same forces that are shaping our homes right now. These houses are still out there, frozen in time, beautiful and fascinating relics of a world that doesn't exist anymore. They stand as monuments to different ways of living, different ideas of beauty, and different answers to the timeless question of what a home should be. What do you think? Is there an old house style in your town that you wish people still built today? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.